Now we've already looked at an example of ratio in which, let's say, there were 2 people in one house, 3 people in another, and each person used a liter of water every day. So then you'll have the amount of water that is used will be used in the ratio of 2:3. In the first day you would have used 2:3. In the second day you will use, total you would have used 4:6 and so on. And how we are getting these numbers is basically multiplying this with the number of days. So this one was multiplied by 2 days, by 3 days, and so on and so forth. So if you had at some point something that says, let's say 52 days, then what is this? In a certain number of days they had consumed 52 liters of water. So then you need to first figure out how many days it was. So for that you would do 52 divided by 2. So 26 days, and then you would say, okay, so if I had 26 days, then 26 times 3. So you'll basically be using this number here and this number here in order to figure out how many liters of water would have been used till that day. So if you have to find a question like this, or if you have somewhere where you have a result, let's say you say something that's divisible by 3, so let's say 54, right? And you say, okay, when you had 54, when you had used 54 liters, 3 people had used 54 liters, how many liters would have been used by 2 people? So in that case, you would first go about trying to figure out number of days. So you would say, okay, 54 divided by 3. And then you would say, okay, then I would say 18, and then I would find in 2 days that this would have used 36 liters, right? So when you are doing these calculations, you would always first you would divide it by this, you would figure out the number of days, and then you would go about finding out if there are that many days, how many liters of water this would use. Now this results in both the ratios as well as these other patterns which are in proportion with what you started with. So if you had the ratio of 2:3, then these essentially are in the same proportion as 36:54. Yeah, so these are in the same proportion as each other. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, this is of course 18 times 2 is to 18 times 3. 18 times 3. So if we look at the external, let's say 2:3, I'll just write it again. So if you look at the product of this, it will be 2 will be there, the 3 will also be there, and 18 will also be there. Number of days is there, how much the first one uses and how much the second one uses is there. And similarly, if you take the product of the inside, it's 18 times 2 as well as 3. So one of the rules of proportionality is that the product of the inner terms, which is this, will be the same as the product of, let's say, the outer terms. And you can see here that it is obviously going to be true, because it's going to have, for the story that we have been using for ratios, it's going to have the number of days, it's going to have the ratio of 1, this is the first quantity, and it's going to have the ratio of the second quantity, and you're just mapping the two. This is also represented as a fraction. When you say 2:3 or 2/3 is the same as, that's what all these are, is the same as 36 by 54. And if we look at it a little carefully, we know that it is the same because this is 18 times 2 and this is 18 times 3, and if the 18 cancel out, you get the same.